Hi everyone, I'm back and welcome to the Postal Code Unknown podcast for Wednesday, July 20th of 2017. I have a bit of a cool episode for you today, answering a question. So I don't have an item to share, but I wanted to sort of address a question that I got from a fan from South Carolina, asking me, what do I do for a living that allows me to afford to travel and sort of do all these kinds of cool experiences and stuff like that? And I think it's a really important question, and one that I wanted to address as honestly as possible, because I think that that really helps. I know sort of like before I left on this type of experience, I watched a lot of blogs and read a lot of travel stuff, just sort of going, okay, well, how can I sort of experience this life that, I've been dreaming about? And there's a lot to sort of unpack here. So to sort of talk about this as best as we can, I'm going to talk about this in three ways. Like, one, how am I afford to travel? Or how am I able to afford to travel and do the things that I'm doing? Two, what are some of the things that you can do if you're interested in travel blogging to make money? And three, what have been my experiences and my realities as far as doing this type of thing and trying to make a living from it, that can give you as much information as possible to sort of proceed with as much information as you can. So first and foremost, I don't make as much money as I want to doing this, at least not yet. I'm working very hard to try to change that as we're going along. But the fact of the matter is over the past 2 years, I've done about 4 trips, about 5 months each, outside of the States. So there's a little bit of variation there, and generally when I come back to the United States for about 1 to 3 months where I've got opportunities to work and sort of do other things as well, to keep going. Most of the places that I have been going are all under tourist visas, which technically restrict working. Now, again, you can do stuff that's under the table. I wouldn't recommend it, and I also didn't want to do that, but I'm also in a position where I had enough in savings to be able to afford to travel for at least this period of time. So to sort of give you an idea of the budget that I've had for the past 2 years for all of those trips, not including the rent and food and stuff like that back when I'm living in the United States, but outside of the States, these travel experiences have cost me about $50,000 to $60,000 for 2 years. So that's something to think about. Again, there are less expensive ways to travel. There are more budget-friendly ways where you could bring that down a little bit. But for the most part, sort of by using airline points and credit card points that I've gained over time, I've been able to sort of supplement a lot of my budget travel experiences with, the occasional sort of nice dinner or going out and meeting with friends on rare occasions. So I feel like I've made a pretty good balance of that. But it has been a fairly significant amount of money that I've spent. So I want to sort of try to and point that out as a practical reality, because a lot of times sort of like I've read a lot of articles on travel blogs that I follow where it's like, okay, well, I left home with $100 and here I am. And it's difficult to sort of describe, well, how do you get from that $100 to where you are now? And there's a lot of steps that are involved. In my particular case, what I'm doing right now is I'm doing my best to sort of generate revenue through a few different ways. One is my Patreon. If you haven't seen that yet, think of sort of like what a patron for an artist used to be, back in the Renaissance or something like that. Somebody's a painter or a musician and they've got a rich benefactor or something like that really likes to pay for them to make music for them. And while that's not necessarily the case, what I'm trying to do is say, hey, if you like what you see here and you'd like me to keep going, throw me $1 a month or something like that. There are additional things. I'll put a link in the post or sort of video links as well. That has more information about what I'm trying to do, but at the very least what I'm trying to do is raise enough money to keep the website running so that I can share this kind of stuff with you for the future. And right now I'm looking for about $50 a month just to keep hosting and keep the website operational. Especially because I'll be going to school next year, I want to make sure that this information is available and I'm able to keep this up for you. So that's one way. Another way could be, say for example, selling photographs or writing articles for other companies that sort of are looking for these types of experiences. You can make, say for example, speaking arrangements if you've got experience in a very particular type of event, like mountaineering or something like that, or long-term travel, or if you're just interested in this type of thing, there are quite a few ways to make money. again, it's difficult. It's not something that I want to say, hey, you're going to go out there, you're going to jump into this, and you're just going to have an ability to make money easily. So one of the things that I'd like to say, because it's something I didn't know when I first started this, and wish I had when I'd been thinking about this in my 20s, is working tourist visas. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that every country has this as an opportunity. A lot of Western countries that are sort of part of the British Commonwealth or part of the European Union have abilities for, say, for example, working tourism, which is an idea that before you're 30 years old, you could get a working tourist visa in another country for like a year where you're able to go over there and work and experience something else. I didn't know that existed. A lot of those have stipulations that you have to be younger than 30, and because I'm older than 30, and when I had started doing this, I was older than 30, that made that a lot more difficult. So it's something I wish I had known when I was thinking about this. So if you're curious and you're like, hey, I want to get out there, I want to try something new, I want to work somewhere else, I want to see what the world's like, that's an awesome way to do that, and to do that legitimately without having to worry about restrictions and visas or I mean, like, you know, like going there as a tourist and trying to run out of money. It's like, well, what do I do? Because I'd like to sort of give people the most appropriate and legal path to sort of getting to realizing their dreams. So those are some ideas. Like, there are tons of blogs that sort of say, for example, coach and sell, you know, like workshops and ideas and ways to say, for example, you know, hey, I will mentor you in, you know, how to do this type of business. And because it is something that is very, a lot of people do it, so it's hard to break through, and it's hard to sort of get something that's unique and interesting. And I think that that's been one of the biggest struggles for me in trying to sort of break into this industry. So again, that's something that when I become more successful in the future, I'd like to maybe open that up as an opportunity. And lastly, sort of, I wanted to talk about sort of some of the practical realities of what traveling for the past couple of years has been like. Mostly because, like, it's easy to get this idea in your head, because it was definitely in mine, that's sort of like a fantastical reality of going out and you get to see these incredible things. And while I don't want to limit the impact that this has had on my life, because it has been one of the most powerful, incredible, and important things that I think I have ever done, it's also been one of the most difficult. And something to sort of definitely consider when you're thinking about going out and traveling for extended period of time is how that's going to affect you. I know for good amounts of time, I struggled very much with loneliness, mostly because sort of it's a hard thing to, you know, move frequently, especially if you're not staying in any one particular place for a long period of time. It's something I changed a little bit. When I first started out, I was moving places almost every few days. One was because I had done a pilgrimage, and that was kind of necessarily a requirement of that, and that was actually one of the most social experiences I had, because I was with a lot of other people that were doing the same thing, and that was cool. But at some point, sort of like, it becomes this microcosm of life where people sort of come in and out as you're fluctuating to some degree. And a lot of times that can be a really difficult thing to deal with. And again, if you're traveling with somebody, that may be a little bit different, but that's also sort of something to sort of think about if you're thinking about traveling for an extended period of time. You meet some incredible, wonderful people, but it can be very hard. And the other sort of thing that I'd like to sort of discuss about this experience is sort of like, because this type of travel, although I don't want to discourage you from traveling, I think it's extraordinarily important, is that if you're in a point in which you are in your life and you're saying, hey, I need to make a change, and if you're like me and you had seen a lot of you know, travel videos and seeing these really amazing things that people are doing, and you're like, that's it, that's what I need to do, that's how I'm going to change my life, I encourage you to stop and think, because it's a big leap of faith. And I think the most important thing that I can say, probably on most or any of these videos that I share, is that you don't need to quit your job and travel the world to make your life better. Most of the stuff that I've learned that has been incredibly important, I could have learned back home. Travel is incredibly important in the fact that it sort of allows you to broaden your experiences and experience other cultures and new places and make new friends. And a lot of that can still be done within close proximity. So I encourage you to look for ways to go outside of your comfort zone if you're struggling for a way to improve your life. Again, if traveling around is something that you want to do and something that you're dreaming about and something that works for you, I encourage you to go for it. I think it's worthwhile to at least try to do something small first, which is something that I did, to make sure that it was the right decision. Because it's kind of hard to sort of take a leap of faith like that without at least knowing to some degree what it's going to be like. And with that said, there's no knowing until you do it. But some of the things that you can do are, say, for example, one of the things that I've been wanting to do for a long time was increase my ability to cook. I mean, like, I feel like I did a pretty good job at barbecuing, but I could barely crack an egg. So one of the things that I focus on is while I've been traveling is learning to cook in different places. So I've taken some classes in Thailand and in India and the UK and quite a few places. But those are also sort of things where, one, I wanted to improve myself, and two, I got myself outside of my comfort zone by, cracking that stupid egg and figuring out how to do it. So, I really want to sort of impress upon this point because it's important that if you want to, you can improve your life. It's a matter of believing in yourself and believing your ability to change your situation and going for it. And that could be as much as taking a cooking class, or joining a boxing gym, or just going out and walking more, or deciding to go somewhere new today instead of the place that you're familiar or comfortable with, in order to experience more of what life is about. And I think really sort of more than anything, that is the essence of why I've been traveling and wanting to share this and wanting to sort of keep this website up and share these experiences with you, so that these lessons that I've worked really hard to learn, I can help you learn as well. So I'm running a little bit long today, so I want to cut this a little bit short. I'll return to this later as I learn a little bit more about making money as I'm traveling, or answering other questions from other fans. But I hope this has really done something to sort of change things and made you look at your life in a more positive way. I think it's important. So thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to see more of what I've been doing outside of these videos, you can see more at theradicaldreamer.com, where I've got articles and photographs with travel advice and stories that aren't just in a video format. You can follow me on Twitter at @OneRadicalDreamer, or on Instagram at @aradicaldreamer, if that's something that you're more interested in. If you're interested in supporting me, I do have a Patreon page up as well, which you can find at patreon.com/TheRadicalDreamer. And that's a way for as little as $1 a month you can help support me get better equipment and do more videos of this type and make a whole bunch more cool stuff to share with you in the future. And last but not least, if you like what you've been seeing on YouTube, please subscribe, and send a couple comments. I'd be happy to answer more questions in future episodes of the podcast. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you. Take care.